Welcome back, everyone. We always love to dig into those inspiring stories about success, right? The underdog entrepreneurs, athletes who beat the odds, all that good stuff.
Yeah, those are great.
Well, you sent in some really interesting things about success lately, articles, notes, and it all got me thinking, can anyone really achieve anything if they work hard enough?
That's a great question.
I mean, is it really that simple? That's what we're going to be looking into today. And we're going to be looking at it through the lens of something called the swimmer's body illusion.
Ooh, interesting. I like that. Yeah, the swimmer's body illusion is really a great place to start unpacking this whole idea.
Okay, so for those of us who are hearing this for the first time, what is it?
Yeah, it's like this sneaky little mental trap that we fall into where we mistake correlation for causation when it comes to success. So we see the outcome, we see the amazing Olympic swimmer,
Right.
and we just assume that it's all about, blood, sweat, and tears. It's just
Yeah.
relentless training.
Yeah, hard work. Yeah.
But what about all the other stuff that we don't see? All the stuff that's already there before the training even begins.
Okay, yeah. So I'm picturing like Michael Phelps, just like cutting through the water, just like so powerful and sleek.
Hmm.
It is tempting to think, man, if I just swam for hours every day,
Yeah,
I could be right up there on that podium with him too.
right.
But is it really as simple as that?
No, not really. There's so much more to it than that. Let's just stick with the swimmer example for a second.
Okay.
Imagine two people. They have the same passion, the same dedication for swimming, right?
Okay.
One of them has this naturally long core, so they've got flexible joints.
Mm-hmm.
The other person doesn't.
Yeah.
Who do you think has a head start in that situation?
Right, right, right.
And it's not just about body type. It's also things like, access to top-tier coaching, having access to, like, an Olympic-sized pool,
Right.
all those advantages that people don't always see.
Yeah, that often go unnoticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so even with all the hard work, some people, they're starting miles ahead,
Yeah.
and that's kind of wild.
It is.
One of the articles that you sent in, it actually mentioned ballet dancers and basketball players too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, how does this illusion, how does it play out in those areas?
Okay, so think about, like, the physique of a pro basketball player.
Right.
Height. That's an obvious advantage, right?
For sure.
No amount of training in the world can make you 7 feet tall.
Right.
But it goes deeper than that, right? Because genetics influence your muscle fiber types, which determine whether you're naturally geared towards explosive power or endurance.
So someone who's built like a gymnast might excel in a sport that requires more agility and flexibility,
Yeah.
while someone with like a more powerful build might be better suited for, say, weightlifting or something.
Precisely. Their training is going to yield different results based on their pre-existing physical traits,
Right.
right? It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
You might be able to force it, but it's never going to be a perfect fit.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're seeing how this illusion, it applies to physical traits,
Mhm.
but you were saying it pops up in some unexpected places too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about academics, actually. You sent in some interesting stats on Harvard.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, wasn't it something like 94% of their students, they graduate within 6 years?
Yeah, that's right. And their average SAT score, for students to get admitted, it's in the 99th percentile. So on the surface, it really looks like Harvard is this, like, incredible success factory,
Yeah,
just churning out these high achievers.
right.
But let's try and apply the swimmer's body illusion here.
Okay, so are these universities really manufacturing success? Or are they just attracting students who are already set up to excel? Like they come from families that can afford, private tutors and test prep courses and stuff.
That is the key question, right? Imagine two students, they have equal intelligence.
Yeah.
One of them attends a really well-funded school, they've got great college counseling, the other student doesn't.
Okay.
Guess who has a statistical advantage when it comes to college admissions?
Right.
We often attribute success to the institution itself, right? But we overlook all those pre-existing factors that really played a huge role.
It's like saying, look at all these amazing swimmers coming out of this specific training program, but maybe they were already phenomenal swimmers before they even joined the program.
Exactly. The program might help them refine their skills,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't create that talent from scratch,
Yeah.
right? And this illusion, it can actually lead us to make some pretty skewed decisions,
Yeah.
Like, what if you poured all your resources into attending a certain university,
Mm.
thinking that that's the key to your success when really it's just one piece of this much larger puzzle?
Right. Right. Okay, that's making me rethink a lot of things.
Yeah.
But before I totally spiral, let's shift gears for a sec.
Okay.
Let's talk about the business world, because I think this is where things get really, really interesting. I mean, we are bombarded with these stories, right? Of college dropout entrepreneurs who hit it big.
Oh, yeah. Those are everywhere.
Like your Mark Zuckerbergs, your Bill Gates.
Yeah, yeah. The media loves those stories.
Right.
And they're not wrong to highlight them, but I think we need to apply a critical lens here.
Yeah, it's like if I just drop out of college and hustle nonstop, I can be the next Steve Jobs. But I mean, that ignores a whole lot of reality, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's the tip of the iceberg problem, right?
Yeah.
We see the successes, but we're totally missing this huge chunk of failures beneath the surface.
Right.
For every college dropout who founds a billion-dollar company, how many tried and failed? And even among those successes, weren't there often unseen advantages at play?
Yeah, maybe their parents were entrepreneurs themselves, giving them that early exposure to the business world. Or maybe they just had connections that helped them secure funding or partnerships. I mean, those things matter.
Absolutely. We call this survivorship bias. It's like a close cousin of the swimmer's body illusion, right? It tricks us into overestimating the odds of success based on a very selective sample.
Mm.
And that can lead to some pretty risky decisions.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, this illusion, it isn't just about, like, misinterpreting success. It's about actually making decisions based on that faulty interpretation.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And those decisions, they can have a ripple effect on our lives.
Absolutely, they can. But don't worry, we're not going to leave you with this doom and gloom.
Right.
In part 2, we're going to dive into how to combat this illusion and how to make smarter choices.
All right, so we've definitely established that the swimmer's body illusion, this thing can really mess with how we see success, you know?
It can.
From athletes to those Ivy League grads to all those entrepreneurs who are supposedly overnight successes. But this illusion, it doesn't just stop there, right? I mean, this thing, it pops up in all kinds of places, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, it's everywhere.
I mean,
It's like a cognitive chameleon. It blends into all these different backgrounds.
okay, so give us some examples. Where else is this illusion really sneaky?
Well, let's talk about the music industry.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those videos online, those ones with the child prodigies,
Yeah.
playing like super complicated classical music on the piano?
Yeah.
It's easy to watch those and think, wow, they were just born with it. I could never do
Oh,
that.
totally. Like, whenever I hear someone just belting out an aria, I just assume they've got some kind of magical gift, like their voice, it was bestowed upon them by, like, the gods of music or something.
Right. It's tempting to think that.
Yeah.
But while some people might have a natural predisposition for music, a lot of those prodigies, I mean, they've had years of intensive training. And they started, when they were really young.
Yeah.
Maybe their parents were musicians themselves, so they had that early exposure and encouragement. Or maybe they had access to top-notch instruments, really great teachers.
Right.
All of that plays a role.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, having a good ear or nimble fingers. It's about the whole environment, the support system, the hours and hours of practice that they put in.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, imagine assuming that someone just learns to speak a foreign language fluently just by being around native speakers, right?
Right.
Sure, the exposure helps, but without actually studying and practicing, I mean, fluency is really unlikely.
That's true. Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually spot this illusion in this situation? Like, what should we be paying attention to?
I would say look for the unseen effort.
Okay.
When you see a musician performing and it looks effortless, just ask yourself, like, how many hours did they actually spend practicing? What did they have to sacrifice to get to this point? What kind of support systems did they have in place, to nurture their talent?
It's kind of like, it's like those before and after photos, but for success stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
we only see the final polished product, but not all the messy, iterative, process that went into it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And that applies to so many other fields, too.
Okay.
Think about writing, for example.
Mhm.
We often, idolize these authors who just seem to pump out bestsellers like it's nothing.
Right.
But we forget about the years, maybe, that they spent just honing their craft, facing rejection, persevering through all those revisions.
Yeah, like J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter books, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We just see this crazy success, but not all the years of struggling and persistence that happened before that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or think about those articles that you see, the ones that are like, this 20-year-old built $1 million app in their spare time.
Right, right.
But do we know? Like, did they have coding experience before that? Were they part of, like, supportive tech community? Did they have mentors? We're missing a lot of the story.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so it seems like one of the keys here to fighting this illusion is to be a little bit more, well, inquisitive, kind of like a detective, when it comes to these success stories. Don't just take the headline for what it is.
I like that, yeah. Be curious, ask questions, try to look beyond the surface.
So, I mean, we're constantly just hit with all these kind of misleading narratives. How do we protect ourselves from making decisions based on this thinking that's just it's wrong?
Well, I think it starts with awareness. Now that you know about the swimmer's body illusion,
Yeah.
I mean, you're already a step ahead. When you see a success story, especially one that just seems too good to be true,
Yeah.
hit that pause button.
Hit the pause button. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens next?
Ask yourself, what are the contributing factors that maybe I'm missing here? What were the challenges that they face? What resources did they have? And most importantly, what can I realistically learn from their journey?
Yeah.
Even if my path looks totally different.
It's like instead of comparing, my chapter 1 to their highlight reel, I'm trying to see those deleted scenes, the bloopers, all those moments that show the full picture.
Exactly, yeah. And remember, it's not about discrediting anyone's achievements. It's about understanding that success is multifaceted,
Yeah.
and it's influenced by this really complex interplay of factors.
Okay. So as we're kind of wrapping up this whole deep dive, what is the one thing you really want our listener to take away from all of this?
I would say don't let the swimmer's body illusion lead you astray. Be mindful of the stories that you're consuming. Question the narratives that just seem too simple, and focus on building your own unique path to success, whatever that means for you.
I love that. It's not about comparing ourselves to others or trying to replicate their success. It's about understanding all the forces that are at play and using that knowledge to our advantage, right?
You got it. It's about recognizing that we're all swimming in different lanes, and that's totally okay. The key is to find our own rhythm, our own stroke, and keep moving forward.
That's a great way to put it. All right, well, that just about wraps up our deep dive into the swimmer's body illusion. We hope this has been insightful and, most importantly, empowering for you. Remember, success, it's a journey, not a destination. And comparing yourself to others is only going to make you seasick.
That's so true.
So, thanks for diving in with us today. Be sure to share your aha moments or any questions you might have. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep swimming in your own lane. All right, so we're back. And so far, we've talked about how the swimmer's body illusion can kind of warp our view of success. We've talked about Olympic athletes, those Ivy League grads, all those so-called overnight success entrepreneurs.
Right, right.
But I mean, this illusion, it doesn't just limit itself, right? I mean, it pops up in all sorts of places, I bet.
It really does. It's everywhere. It's like, I don't know, it's like a cognitive chameleon,
Okay, yeah.
it blends in.
Blends in. So give us some examples, like where else is this illusion super sneaky?
Okay, well, let's talk about the music industry, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever seen those videos online, those ones with the child prodigies?
Oh, yeah.
The ones playing like really complex classical music on the piano?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to watch those and think, wow, they were just born with it.
Oh, yeah.
I could never do that.
Totally. Like I hear someone belting out like an aria and I'm like, oh, they've just got this like magical gift,
Right.
like a voice from the gods or something.
It is tempting to think that.
Yeah.
And while, I mean, some people may have a natural predisposition for music,
Yeah.
a lot of those prodigies, they've had years of intensive training.
Right.
I mean, it started when they were super young.
Right.
Maybe their parents were musicians, so they had that early exposure, encouragement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they had access to amazing instruments, incredible teachers.
Mhm.
It all kind of plays a role.
Okay. So it's not just about having a good ear or nimble fingers or whatever.
Yeah.
It's about the environment, the support system, all the hours and hours of practice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like imagining that someone's just going to learn to speak another language fluently
Mm.
just because they're around native speakers, right?
Right.
Sure, I mean, exposure helps, but without really putting in the work, studying and practicing,
Right.
fluency is pretty unlikely.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, so that makes sense. But how do we actually see the illusion in this case? What should we be looking for?
I would say look for that unseen effort.
Mm.
So when you see a musician and they're just performing and it just looks so effortless, just ask yourself, okay, how many hours did they actually spend practicing?
Yeah.
What did they have to give up to get here? What kind of support did they have to help them get there.
It's like those, those before and after photos,
Yeah.
but for success stories, right?
Yeah.
We only see the finished product, but not the messy, in-between stuff that actually got them there.
That's a good way to put it. And that applies to a lot of fields, too.
Yeah, yeah,
Think about writing.
yeah.
We often look up to these authors who just seem to pump out bestseller after bestseller.
Right.
But we forget about maybe the years they spent just honing their craft.
Yeah, right.
Facing rejection after rejection,
Uh-huh.
pushing through all those revisions and edits and everything.
Yeah, like J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, right?
Exactly.
We just see this phenomenon, but not all that struggle and the time it took to get there.
Right. And or think about all those articles that say things like, this 20-year-old made $1 million app in their spare time.
Right, right.
But do we know if they already had, coding experience? Were they, part of a supportive tech community? Did they have mentors?
Right, we're missing so much of the story.
Exactly.
Okay, so it seems like, I don't know, one of the keys to fighting this illusion is just to be more, inquisitive? Like a detective or something. When you see those success stories, don't just take the headline as the whole story.
I like that. Be curious. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Look beyond the surface.
So, we're constantly bombarded with all these misleading stories and narratives and stuff. How do we protect ourselves from making decisions based on this flawed thinking?
Well, I think it starts with awareness.
Well, okay.
Now that you know about the swimmer's body illusion, you're already ahead of the game,
Yeah.
right? So when you see a success story, especially one that just seems too good to be true,
Right.
hit the pause button.
Hit the pause button. Okay, so what happens next?
Just ask yourself, what are the contributing factors that maybe I'm not seeing here? What were the challenges? What resources did they have? And most importantly, what can I realistically learn from this person, from their experience, even if my path looks totally different?
It's like instead of comparing my chapter 1 to their highlight reel,
Yeah.
I'm looking for those deleted scenes, those bloopers, those things that show the whole picture.
Exactly. And just remember, it's not about discrediting what anybody's done. It's about understanding that success, it's so multifaceted.
Right.
It's influenced by such a complex web of factors.
Okay, so we are just about wrapping up our deep dives here. What's the one thing you want people to walk away with today?
I would say don't let the swimmer's body illusion lead you in the wrong direction. Be mindful of the things that you're reading, the things you're hearing. Be critical.
Right.
And question those narratives that just seem too simple and just focus on building your own, path to success.
I like that. It's not about comparing ourselves to everybody else, or trying to copy what they did. It's about understanding how things really work and using that to our advantage.
That's it. It's about recognizing that we're all swimming in our own lanes. And that's okay. The key is to find your own rhythm,
Yeah,
your own stroke, and just keep moving forward.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. Well, that wraps up our deep dive on the swimmer's body illusion. We hope you found it useful and insightful and empowering. Remember, success, it's a journey, not the destination. And if you're always comparing yourself to everyone else, you're going to make yourself sick.
So true.
So thanks for diving in with us today. Be sure to let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep swimming in your lane.